As you know, this week is Taster Week at the University of the West Indies. There's a lot happening today, this morning, as a matter of fact, on campus. Remember, at 10 o'clock, the book launch of the book of Jackie Opel in the 3Ws Pavilion, and across at 10 o'clock as well, on the Guild Lawns, there's that meeting of social sciences and the Faculty of Culture, Performing and Creative Arts. They're encouraging all of you to come. The children are also encouraged to come too. But let's go into now the Department of Cultural Studies, and we're met by the head, Dr. Yanique Hume. Good morning to you, Dr. Hume.
Morning, good morning. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Cultural Studies, what is that about?
Yes, so cultural studies is an interdisciplinary field of study that really is engaged in the understanding the processes through which identities are constructed, understanding the process through which they're represented, recognizing that we are in societies that are structured by power, structured by history, and how does that play the material conditions of which people live and make meaning in their lives. So it's interdisciplinary in that it's pulling from various fields of study. A lot of it is anchored in history, but it comes from also a Marxist background, so the idea of class is also very important to it. So sometimes there's a confusion that cultural studies is exclusively the study of arts. And while the arts are part of culture, culture expands beyond the arts as well. So we look at culture as the everyday, as those practices from the farmers, and it's no accident that words like horticulture, agriculture have those as its suffix, because in fact it is the processes through which people make meaning in their lives.
And so a lot of times people are wondering, how do I take this knowledge and apply it to everyday life? So in what ways would cultural studies enhance my everyday living as a practitioner in whatever?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question, because one of the things that the field really emphasizes is recognizing, to quote Nigerian author Chimamanda Adichie, understanding that there isn't a singular narrative or single story. So how we come to know and the kinds of knowledge that we produce and the modes through which we disseminate or transmit this knowledge is multifaceted, as is the human condition. So the field of study really encourages students to develop critical thinking skills, learning how to problem solve, think outside of the box, be innovative and curious in trying to come to comprehend complex situations. And that's transferable and translatable across many fields. So whether you choose a career within the foreign services, having a grounding in a Caribbean cultural studies means that you understand this region, not only the territory you're born in, but understanding the region as a complex whole, as a circum-Caribbean basin that shares in a similar history, that has cultural factors that intersect, regardless of the linguistic backgrounds, the colonial background, that informs how we begin to understand culture. From there, being able to understand processes like cultural change. And the Caribbean provides a really fascinating laboratory for engaging those questions, because we come from so many different backgrounds, so many different influences, from the enslaved past, different parts of Africa, recognizing the influence of Europe, the influence of indentureship from Asia, all of these creating this melange we call the Caribbean. So from there, being able to really think about not only critical thinking, beginning to find solutions for complex problems, but also recognizing that it takes collaboration and it takes looking to different fields to come to solving a problem.
Collaboration can end with groupthink.
Yes.
Which in itself can be a bit of a danger, because sometimes you still want to have your own individual mind. And so for those who are contemplating cultural studies, it's not a history lesson, even though it's a lot of history that one engages with. And I'm asking that because I want to break down how practical, when one enters one of these courses in cultural studies, would I be required to be?
Well, it depends. Our faculty, where we exist in the Faculty of Culture, Creative and Performing Arts, is a faculty that really emphasizes the merger or fusion of theory and practice. We recognize that practice, whether it's creative practice, for example, is a way that you could push forward research and find new ways. We recognize that knowledge is held in the body. Knowledge is held in not only books, but it's translated in different ways. So how do we begin to bring these two things together? We really are moving away from the Descartesian split of mind and body and really seeing students as integrated wholes, as well as the knowledge that we're hoping to create. So practically, it means that a course is going to ask you to read. It's going to ask you to really investigate and engage with the subject matter at hand. And it's going to ask you to look comparatively. I think a lot of our studies, especially because we're engaged with understanding this region and how this region functions within a broader globe, we are inherently comparativist. So we're looking and seeing what's happening in Haiti and how do we understand that to make sense of the cultural processes that have happened in places like Brazil, in Barbados, in Trinidad and Tobago, and recognizing those interconnections, right? And beginning to plot them, literally sometimes, tracing the contours of our connectivity and beginning to see and drill down on whatever the given subject is. And encouraging students to develop oratory skills so they could share this work, recognizing that not all work is going to live as text. It may live as a podcast. It may live in a TikTok. But do you have the cultural context that is actually gives those medium breadth and depth?
And
Right.
so, a study of cultural studies is for everyone.
It's for everyone.
Whether it be the teacher, the broadcaster, the person in the foreign services,
Yes.
in whatever sphere of endeavor you are, cultural studies is at the center of it.
It's at the center.
What I also like from listening to you just a moment ago is that the courses are relevant to today. They're not stuck in the 18th century and
Not
that's
at all.
and that's
Not
all
at
we
all.
study.
Yeah.
But you respond to today's realities
Yeah.
so that we as people of the Caribbean at the University, through the University of the West Indies, are being able to tackle those situations as they occur. You referenced Haiti.
Yes.
And I just like the fact that you did that because there's so many things about the Haitian story that we as a people from the Anglo side of the Caribbean, we don't quite understand.
Yeah.
But cultural studies helps us to do that.
Indeed, indeed. It's being able to recognize what are those moments of intersection and connections, looking not just at the political situation, but recognizing how that political situation is shaped by history and how that history is also shaped by the cultural facets that have made up the Haitian people, for example, and the practices that have informed their nation.
Some of those practices are religious.
Some of their
others
practices
are through other expression.
Exactly.
But cultural studies roots us in that understanding.
In that understanding, exactly.
And it's that understanding and appreciation for that almost opens doors for exchange.
Exactly.
And helps us smooth when difficulties occur.
Yes, yes.
And that's why it's in there. Now, when we come to the science fair today, we have an opportunity, no doubt, to discuss further the cultural studies.
Definitely.
For those who are contemplating, because now they have a greater understanding of what cultural studies is about, thanks to you, but, what are the entry points?
Yes.
How do we begin our application to the
Right.
university?
So we're in the application period right now, and we are accepting applicants for their undergraduate studies. So we offer a BA or a Bachelor's of Arts in Caribbean Cultural Studies. And then we have, with that BA, about six minors of which, so you could come in and do a cultural studies major, but minor in gender studies, political science, psychology, sociology, international relations. It allows you to pair those things, because you might have an interest. So we're like, no, let's see how these things go together. And that's why I think it's such a genius pairing to have us with the Faculty of Social Science, because those fields also are part of and marry quite well within cultural studies. We also offer a minor in cultural studies if you don't want to do the major in Caribbean cultural studies. We have our degrees in the postgraduate graduate school for research, and that would include a MA, an MPhil, Master of Philosophy, and a PhD. And we also have a practice-based degree. So those who come in with years of with a creative practice and now want to study it further. So it's like the finessing of that craft, pairing it with the theory, and being able to do a practice-based option as well. So we offer postgraduate and undergraduate degrees, and it depends on where. You could go to our website and begin to see that information, both on our faculty website, cultural studies tab, and you could also, for those interested in graduate studies, go to the School for Graduate Studies and Research and find information on our page there as well.
I keep imagining the richness of the conversation and the exchanges that
Oh,
occur
yes.
in
Oh, yes.
cultural studies. Everyone has a point of view and they come from different backgrounds, varied backgrounds, but it brings to the melting pot of one thought.
It does.
And I think
It
that is so
does.
rich for everyone who's curious about life and life lived and how we can begin to influence life cultural studies. The understanding of the cultural space helps in that discussion. A lot of us tend to go to the airwaves and we talk and we don't have the basis from which we share that point of view. Cultural studies helps you to form that opinion so it's more informed and it is more meaningful, and you see the results that you're searching for, because now you can impact, whether as a foreign service officer, whether you're into the cultural space, when you write your calypsos and you write your prose as well, what is it that you're saying based on what? Cultural studies helps you with that. When
Thank
we,
you so
in the space of broadcast as well,
Yes,
we begin to,
broadcasting, journalism, you know, we have several of our students who've gone through different tracks. Some are writers, some are cultural consultants, some are, they do tourism strategies. I mean, it really, because heritage studies, some do tours. So it really allows you to kind of use that base liberal arts education to then find, because we're in a generation where you have to curate the kind of career that you want. It may not exist exactly as you study it, but having the tools to recognize that you could plait these things together and create a more comprehensive and fulfilling kind of future.
The scope is so vast. So this morning at 10 o'clock, you can go over to the UWI across on the Guild Lawns, and that's on the opposite side for the 3Ws. Across on the other side, that's where the other activity is happening. You'll be exposed to other cultural arts as well, to fashion and African arts. And so there's a lot happening on campus today, but there is a space for you, ladies and gentlemen, to be studying at the KFIL campus in the Cultural Studies Department. And so I want to encourage you to go to know more about how you fit and where you fit within the whole scope of the Caribbean's drive, because the UWI is about us, and for others as well. But it shapes your thinking, it informs your thought process, it aids you in being able to see the world clearer. And I think that's what everybody wants to be able to do. Dr. Hume, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You're welcome. You're very welcome. Quite enjoyed talking to you today.
Morning, morning, morning.